Welcome guys, big week for Guild Wars because earlier in the week we had Extra Life. ArenaNet did a really huge campaign for that. There was lots of activity and that actually involved some information about End of Dragons, which I'll give you guys in a second. But most importantly, it's a big week because this is Echovald week. So I don't know how many of you guys were here a couple of weeks back, but they did a Xing stream where for an hour, maybe an hour and a half, somewhere around there, they did a full-on live stream where they're playing the game, showing off the environments and like giving us a look at some stuff we hadn't seen before, dynamic events and so on. I restreamed it at the time, we made a big show out of it, and it was all round pretty decent. The thing with the Xing stream is though, we'd kind of already seen a lot of those areas. Like they picked Saitang Harbor to show off again, which we'd already seen like on the fishing stream and the skiff stuff, and we've seen a lot of concept art from that, even going way back. A lot of the trailers and little video snippets have shown that area. So yeah, the Xing stream was great, but it was kind of areas we already kind of got a gist of the vibe of. Well, this week, tomorrow, at the end of the week on Friday, they're going to be showing off Echovald Forest, as it's now called the Echovald Wilds, which is so much more interesting to me. First of all, because it's the Echovald Forest, which itself is a really interesting exotic locale. Lots of weird, fascinating places for us to explore, and new enemies and creatures we haven't seen yet. But also because it just hasn't appeared in much press at all yet, like barely any. So this all feels really new. And on that note, last night, now I missed this, I was actually live on Twitch as it happened, they posted a trailer teaser for the big event that's coming up tomorrow. There is a full Echovald Forest trailer. That's what I'm going to run in today. And I got to tell you guys, I don't know, maybe I'm a bigger fanboy of the Echovald Forest and the Kurziks than I thought. I've always been more of a Jade Sea guy. I'm sure I'll be geeking out way more when we get there. But for some reason, this trailer really has bumped up my enthusiasm about the X-Pack. I don't know what it is. Maybe they've updated their video making processes. They're giving us trailers at higher bitrate. I know they moved to 4K sometime around Dragonstorm, was it? Maybe a little bit earlier than that. But usually when I watch these trailers, it doesn't feel as good as in-game does, and I've definitely felt that through most of this Elite Spec stuff. But today, here I am sitting down watching this Echovald teaser, and it's really getting to me. It looks brilliant. So we're going to do a fly-by-fly just to give you guys some of this other news that's going on. There's the Alliance betas as well. Now, the original plan from ArenaNet was that World vs. World Alliances would come into beta on the same day as this big stream. You'd be able to play it throughout the weekend and so on. But they've delayed that. It's not happening. And in a way, I'm kind of actually happy about that because, you know, I really want to dive into all the Echovald stuff first and then, you know, take that at a different time. They do have a blog post explaining like all the technical things that went on. They had another blog post after the original beta. That was a beta I missed, but I've been told it was largely just very buggy. So because they're scared of tampering with core systems, essentially, they're taking their time with it. No Alliance beta. Over to Extra Life, there was loads of stuff that happened. Interviews, lots of conversation with the devs. They were doing like LPs and gameplay of various areas of the franchise. Two of the big standouts that I know of, and you guys can fill in more in the comments if you like, but were two new End of Dragons songs. Now, they're kind of buried and kind of hard to find. Unfortunately, ArenaNet doesn't maintain their SoundCloud anymore. The last time they were doing it was when Dragonstorm came out. I guess because there's no formal, like, full-blown Living World release going on with the game at the moment. That's just ended up on the back burner, but there's so much End of Dragons music they've revealed, and if you go to like other YouTubers, you'll see that people are just hosting these tracks. Well, two new came out from Extra Life. I would try to incorporate those into the, you know, the soundtracks I use in the background of my videos, which haven't really been updated for a while. We were playing with combat and battle music about, what, 2 months ago now, but I haven't done much since then. That was one thing. The other thing as well is, guess what? A bunch of Echovald concept art, and in fact, that's what you've been looking at scrolling on in the background. Normally, I dedicate a bunch of time to looking at and dissecting this, but since we have a full-blown trailer, I mean, really, is there any need to? So that's about it. Let's get in and see this trailer. Oh, you guys are going to see rot wallows. There's all kinds of cool stuff. New varieties of Tengu. I'll let you guys watch it first on your own, and then I'll come back with some analysis and commentary over it. Oh my god, welcome back. I just had about 1,000 issues before I could record this. It's genuinely about 40 minutes later now. Alright, let's jump on in and see what we've got, shall we? So first of all, just a little bit of an image. I don't think this is concept art or anything. I think it's in-game of Echovald, and we're going to get a similar shot as we... Oh, and in fact, there's some people fishing here. This actually reminds me a little bit, you kind of obviously have to look through the grime, of one of the pieces we saw in the background on the official press site, in the background for the fishing feature section. Sometimes use it in the background of my videos. So anyway, the Echovald Wilds map preview, just to talk a little bit about the name here. It's not the Echovald Forest necessarily anymore, though it still clearly is a forest. I think what they want us to think about more is that this is a wild area. It's not necessarily a tame land. It's not that people are living there necessarily. And, you know, the idea is that maybe the Kurziks are gone now. They've been brought into the fold of the Empire. Some other stories going on. So what will we see? Well, you're going to see a lot of ruins. And by the way, it was kind of easy to feel like the Echovald Forest was a ruinous place anyway. In Guild Wars 1, it was a petrified forest. And as great, as much as I've complimented the lore of Cantha in Guild Wars 1, and all the world building specifically and all the setting information, they never really did explain like what the Kurziks eat. And well, I mean, I suppose there's abundant water there. And there were some, like, mossy areas, and we are in a magical world. But the idea that it's easy to sustain a population in a land like that, I think is already a bit of a head-scratcher. Though it's not just the Kurziks, it's all the creatures that live around in the area as well, like the Gaki and the Rotwallows and so on. Of which we're about to see some of these on the trailer. So anyway, first shot here, we see some kind of ruined cathedral, and they were in no short supply in the first game. It wouldn't surprise me to hear that this is exactly looking at a place in Guild Wars 1. Perhaps we're looking, you know, directly into an arboretum or something, but... you know, is this the Vasberg Armory, perhaps, or something? Nothing really comes to my mind straight away. I wouldn't be surprised. If you remember with the Xingji stream, you could draw... And even the very first shot that they ever gave us of in-engine End of Dragons, we could draw that to a specific place in Guild Wars 1. But I don't know. Nothing comes off the top of my head on this, I'm afraid to say, guys. What I do think is really cool is that they get this guy on this sky scale flying across. This is a sky scale, right? And they've picked like a dark skin to make it look a bit like a bat. And I love that. You know, it's also gothic around here. There should be bats flying all over the place. There are, like, some weird bat effects you get in Guild Wars. I mean, we just went through Halloween, Christ, where there are some, you know, even bat tonics you can play with. But I wonder whether the devs will go further than this. You remember, actually, in Heart of Thorns, okay? Which I think we're going to get a lot of Heart of Thorns-y vibes from this map. Because, obviously, big, dense jungle, big, dense forest. There's going to be a bit of overlap. In Heart of Thorns, they kind of did do, like, those vampire bats and so, some of those things in the upper areas of the tree lines. If they can reuse those... in this X-Pack, I'd be very happy to see that. And they're some of my favourite weirdest creatures in Heart of Thorns. You don't see be reused in many other places. Certainly not through the POF era. Certainly not through the Icebreed Saga. And I'm trying to think, even in Season 3, did they really use those cool creatures much? I don't think so. So I'd love to see them again. Anyway, this is inspired. Someone flying on a sky scale. And, you know, another little nod, obviously, to the community, to the player base. Hey, don't forget, you'll have your sky scale here. As you watch this trailer, think about the fact that you can climb around on that dragon as you move. So anyway, they fly along like so. Right, we get a very short shot there. Oh my lord. Let's rewind ever so slightly before I miss it. Kind of another entryway here. I love sort of the tilted, slanted angle to everything. The broken arch. This tree log in the foreground. Oh, why is my cursor captured on screen throughout this? I'm so sorry, guys. I've had such a pain getting this video because YouTube is throttling stuff. I did have a lovely message from someone on Discord explaining how to get around it, but there's a whole other thing you have to do. Alright, I'm back. Now, there's a whole story I can go into on that on stream or something, I guess, at some point. So, yeah, what you'll notice is there is an adventuring band in the background there, and it looks like 5 people. I don't know whether we're really meant to think closely about that. That obviously used to be like it is still the standard party size, right? They haven't really talked about 5-man content really very much in this X-Pack. It reminds me of when Heart of Thorns was coming out, and you could see like there were 10 people running along a road, and it was like, oh, is this raid content? It turned out to not be in the end. It was just a random thing of people going to speak to Exalted, who we misinterpreted to be maybe Massart way back when. But yeah, this kind of reminds me of that. I don't think we're supposed to look into it too much. But the one in the center, you'll notice, is a Tengu, and this trailer is kind of revealing that there are a lot of sentient creatures living here. It's just there might be something of a bigger Tengu population than anything else. Because when we go to the next shot, we'll see them in a second. So here we have subtitles saying once petrified and lifeless forest. In the background, I can only assume this is a Kirin. So in the first game, there were Kirin varieties in the Echovald forest. They were like very mossy. This guy doesn't look so mossy to me, but you can really see the scales, right? Really, really beautiful kind of tail here. So you'll also see in the background some other creatures. Now, those are Rottwallows, and they're going to be more prominent in other shots, so I'll save what I want to say about them in a second. Obviously, the other big thing is we get a nice shot of the environment here, and you start to see a little bit of Guild Wars 2's balance of how much life there is versus non-life. It is quite green here. It still feels very grey. I think the low draw distance and the fog coming in really does a lot to kind of preserve that feel of the Echovald. And we don't get a really good look up. One of the things I've been looking for Echovald this whole time is just that sense of scale and vastness. There are some places in Guild Wars 1 where you look up and like the skybox, right, infinitely far away, is painted as a nest of brambles and thickets and like the tree line, the canopy way above you. And because they did it at that kind of scale, it made the Echovald feel just so unbelievably, fantastically huge. And I kind of want that feeling from Guild Wars 2 as well. This trailer won't really give us a great shot looking up. Which is a bit of a shame, but anyway, I kind of feel like if they did put the camera up here, you would just see sort of the grey mist above you. So the vibe I get here is that the forest is still very much in the process of de-petrifying. I think the studio might have picked a good middle ground here, where they're trying to adhere to the old lore and say, well, look, these places are defrosting, so to speak. They're de-petrifying, but they're not totally done yet, so we haven't lost that whole fantasy, that whole feel. They're somewhere in the halfway point, and I'd kind of like to see that at the Jade Sea as well. That way they get to have their cake and eat it too, and they get to do something else as well. See, the bar for art and environment is so much higher in Guild Wars 2 that I don't think they can really get away with just how grey and kind of bland so much of this environment felt in the first game. They want to have more greens in there. They want to have more of other colours. And so having that balance of a bit more life, but still it's quite clearly a dead, petrified lands, that works well to me. You'll see the other thing I think they've done quite cunningly is they've gone with the stained glass. There was stained glass in Guild Wars 1. And you could see the big windows embedded in the trees and stuff. But usually they were just like painted kind of orange, and the hint was that there were people on the other side, but you didn't really get to interact with them because there weren't many interiors in the first game. Well, here you can see this is actually already immediately very colourful. And I think they'll probably do that a lot. That's another thing, by the way, I'm really hoping for from this in Guild Wars 2, more interiors. Because the suggestion is these people have built mansions and cathedrals and stuff inside giant trees made of stone. How cool is that? You got to see them, but you didn't really get to explore them in the first game. I want to explore inside one of those. I wonder if they've got any regions like that. Well, there is kind of a shot in the trailer that will show us that. Okay, so anyway, next shot. Again, it's a Kirin here. I suppose there's other... Maybe it's not like a Nyan, is it? It's not. And there's actually one in the background here. Look at the way his little tendrils flobble around back there under his chin. Brilliant. Here we get some guys fishing. And again, there's some concept art pretty clearly depicting this sort of vibe here. Nice bridge over the top here. Oh, this bridge as well. This reminds me of a little area in Urgo's Warren in Guild Wars 1, the Elite Mission. Here's a weird thing about Urgo's Warren. It was like a dungeon. It was like a raid environment. So it was drawn to look like more areas of the Echovald Forest, but it never actually occupied any specific place on the overworld. So you could never quite know where that region of the forest took place. It was just like a setting within the forest. I wonder in Guild Wars 2... if they're going to be explicit now about where those locations were and sort of bring them into the fold of the overworld, if that makes sense. Another thing I like, by the way, is how immediately obscured so many of our eye lines are. I'm really hoping that the Echovald Forest is so dense that feeling that you don't get that rectangular wall kind of feel that you often get in Guild Wars. I want to feel boxed in. I want to feel lost. I want to feel a part of a big forest, but not because I'm at the edge of the map, but just because that's how the whole place feels. Anyway, a little bit more fishing there. I don't really have any thoughts on that. Now we get this guy. Okay, so I've seen a bit of discussion about him. So what do we have? We have a badass guy, glowing kind of yellow-orangey, like looking around. Now, there are two big theories about who this might be. First is that it might be a warden. Second is that it might be a juggernaut. So the wardens are kind of like the Sylvari of the Echovald Forest. That's not explicit lore, that's kind of headcanon that I've given, but it lines up quite well. It's a good way to think of them. They're nature inhabitants of the forest that got really mad about the petrification, okay? And then the Juggernauts were the ultimate creations of a Kurzik ritual to turn people into massive living trees that wander around and beat people up, basically. I mean, they're not quite Ents, they're not really trees, but they're like plant-infused juggernaut super soldiers, okay? So which of the two is it? Is it a warden or is it a juggernaut? Now, I'm actually coming back in editing here. On my first take, just literally watching the trailer blind, I kind of thought this might be a juggernaut, because I was put off by the armor that you can see the guy's wearing, like over his shoulder and his leg, and I kind of thought, well, maybe then this is like a Kurzik that, you know, it's like a humanoid that's wearing armor and it's undergone the ritual and we can still see lingering parts. But if you actually look at the concept art for the wardens in the first game, this, and I'll put it on screen for you guys here, this armor actually appears like a pretty good match, I think, and especially those big horn pieces coming out of the head. So we might be looking at a warden, actually. In editing now, I think it's a warden more than I think it's a juggernaut, because the thing is, I know they can redesign the way that stuff looks visually, but it looks much more like a warden than juggernaut. It doesn't look like a juggernaut at all, to be honest. I would expect it to be a lot more green if they were going that route. The other argument I kind of made on the initial cut of this video was all the orange, because it kind of feels like amberite. We know that the Kurziks were using that in their rituals and so on, and I would like lore about the amber, but you know, you might find the wardens themselves have been utilizing that. I'm sure that if I looked at Guild Wars 1 just a little bit closer, I'd find that maybe, you know, there were wardens involved in an amber mine story or something, and they're familiar with the material. So yeah, I'm leaning a little bit more warden, mostly because of the horns, and also because the armor feels like a pretty good match for some of the concept art. Back over to the Juggernaut topic, I did have another thought I'll cut you back into. They might do something really fun with this as well, for what it's worth, guys. You might actually meet Juggernauts that were around in Guild Wars 1. Because the only way, as far as I remember from the lore, the only way they die is if their Forever Tree dies. So they can be wandering around, essentially kind of immortal. A lot like what we had in Heart of Thorns, where we met Exalted that were Guild Wars 1 characters. I mean, how cool was that? You could do something similar again. But maybe it's a warden that, since the Kurziks left, started messing with it or something. I mean, is this one of the trees in the background as well? I don't know. But yeah, really, really fascinating, interesting new creature. And it actually looks at us. And by the way, they're going to show us that creature, that shot of him turning twice. So I think they really do want us speculating and thinking about it. Here we get a little bit of the architecture and stuff that I would have expected more at Xingji. They're using it in obviously a new locale quite nicely here. Look at this massive wall in the background here. Almost feels like the Divinity's reached down, doesn't it? I love the light shafts coming down. And who's living here? Who built this, you might wonder? Well, maybe we have our answer right here. Look, they're Tengu, guys. And these, again, are new, sort of different feeling Tengu than what we currently have in Core Tyria and Guild Wars as it currently stands. And just as you begin to wonder about that, the trailer moves into another shot here of these guys. So are these what is left over of the Kurziks? Now, if my Lorfu was perfect here, I might be able to tell you what these symbols are. But these might have they might have been revealed in the new discussion about New Canthan on the blog post we covered a while ago. Maybe they were actually pulled straight from Guild Wars 1. I'm not too sure. Perhaps there's some meaning to this that I'm already missing out on. Me in editing again, it definitely doesn't look like the Kurzik icon. It looks much more like New Canthan. As far as I can see on the wiki, the examples of New Canthan we've had so far, this doesn't appear. But remember they said how the actual, like, the visuals elements of New Canthan are somehow representative of what they mean? So just the fact that this symbol is reflected, like it's a mirror of itself, does that mean something? But anyway, these guys, what I actually think is, I don't know whether they're necessarily Kurzik. I think they might have recently come to the forest. I think that they are regular Canthans who have started indulging in Dragon Jade technology. I mean, look at the cogs, look at the technology around them. We're going to see people fighting in the trailer in a second with clearly Dragon Jade tech stuff. Look at the device in the background here. Yeah, I think that these are people who have just sort of arrived, and maybe in the story of End of Dragons, we've just come here with them. I mean, look at these crates even. It feels like with these crates to me that they're just setting up camp, you know. They're just starting to explore. For what reason, we don't know right now. But I mean, look at the technology that's with them. I think that they're newly exploring it. These masks are really interesting too, pulled right up near to their eyes. I think that's the first time we've been seeing that used a lot, right, in End of Dragon stuff. Now a land of growth and decay, the text says. By the way, have I missed some text? Let's rewind a bit. Once petrified and lifeless, they say. Now there's growth and decay. So, I mean, it feels kind of petrified to me, but yeah, well, I guess we're going more fungal, we're going more, you know, decaying. Maybe once the forest died with the petrification, when it comes back, it's now in the process of dying away further, but it's more an organic death. That's what they mean by the decay here. But here we get one of these cherry blossom trees, some Tengu guarding, it seems. Here's our shot with the Rot Wallows, and by the way, That's a vista up there. And that looks like scaffolding to climb around to it. Really happy to see this. I've learned over the past, what, 3-4 months, that one of the things Guild Wars does better in the whole MMO industry is jumping puzzles and map exploration with clambering and climbing around. And it warms my heart to see they haven't forgotten that here with End of Dragons. Because look, that's clearly some kind of JP to get up this tower. And it looks like there's a vista at top. Am I wrong? So here we got Rot Wallows. I really like their new design. What can I say? In Guild Wars 1, they were probably a bit fatter, a bit thicker. If you guys don't know what these are, they're just general creatures that you could find living around various Canthan locales. In the Echovald forest, the Kurziks had, like, domesticated them. Speaking about what the Kurziks ate, I'm pretty sure there was a quest chain where you use these guys to get up truffles. What was kind of cool in Cantha in Guild Wars 1 is you actually met some characters that, like, had them as pets. And as a part of the henchman system, you could actually recruit them into your party to be allies that would fight alongside you. Brutus and Sheena. And here I see 2 Rot Wallows, and it makes me think of Brutus and Sheena. Yeah, they're kind of interesting. You'll also notice they're quite mole or rat-like, and that drew my mind to the Dredge. So that was something else I was kind of looking at for here. I haven't seen Gaki yet, and I haven't seen Dredge. So Dredge lived in this forest. They had dug a tunnel from the southern Shiver Peaks, escaping from the Stone Summit. And there were Dredge around. They were a cool part of the world here. And this trailer, I'll tell you now, doesn't show any Dredge. So perhaps they'll tell us a story as to what happened with those. I would have thought putting Dredge here would be a no-brainer, considering, you know, they don't have to make all new enemy models and stuff. And maybe they are here. They just felt that it wasn't new and transformative enough to make it into the trailer itself. So we got a bunch more Tengu here. And a woman leading them. Some kind of allied, and they're dressed similar. So this faction is clearly allied in some way there. They actually, this is like a new kind of clothing, right? So we see these people here, and we see this guy standing behind him, like the Juggernaut, I'm going to call it, or the Warden standing behind him. I think these guys are like defenders of the forest, and they're wearing like these earthy tones and so on, and they're allied with these guys. I think these are possibly what's left over from the Kurziks. What color was the Kurziks in red? Were the Kurziks the blue ones or the red ones? Were Luxons blue and Kurziks red? Was that the colours? Oh my god, I've forgotten the colours. I think it was that way. And look, they've got the red on their hat. So that kind of works out. If the Kurzik colour was red, that kind of works. But I might have got those reversed in my head here. But I think these guys are like the defenders, and they're not happy about these other people coming in with all the Dragon Jade tech. And I know that guy was looming in the background like he was about to attack that guy in the foreground, but I don't think that's what's happening. Okay, so speaking of ruins, okay, how amazing does this place look? Talking of stained glass, there was nothing like this in Guild Wars 1. There's nothing like this really in Guild Wars 2. The Mad King's Clock Tower, ever so slightly maybe. This place looks incredible. We get another vista. It feels like a JP style place again. That's a player under my mouse there, all the way over there. That's a player, so you can get a sense of the scale. And yeah, the idea is obviously to climb. There's another player here on the bottom left. I love this room. This one shot is probably my favorite shot of the whole thing. And I kind of get more enjoyment and satisfaction looking at the new enemies and stuff, to be honest with you guys. I don't really have much more to say, except here's my interior shot. It's fantastic, isn't it? I mean, these are some Heart of Thornsy looking flowers. I do recognize those assets down there. This technology flowing through it is interesting. I wonder what exactly is going on there. I also wonder if this is the interior shot of the building we saw before, but I somewhat doubt it. I also wonder, are these all going to be moving platforms? Is this a JP where these cranes and stuff are pivoting and stuff's actually like sliding around? Because ArenaNet are very sparing and careful when they do that kind of stuff. And there's an illusion of movement as the camera tracks forwards a bit, but we don't get to see much. Here we get some kind of portal entrance. Who knows what that is? Entrance to a strike mission arena? We know that, well, so far they haven't said they're not doing dungeons. Oh, guys, I'm kind of on the dungeon hype train again now at this point. I would love the thought that there's like some kind of interior like that. Or is this just the entrance to the map? The exit to the map? Some big wall here? Not really much more I can say, just some people patrolling it. And here we get these revenants, these specters, these ghosts that were appearing at night on the Xingje stream and are clearly a big part of the story. I thought they would be just a little bit more of a Xingje thing, but they're around here too. Danger and chaos reign. So it is a wild. Chaos is a great word to pair with it, right? So who knows what's going on there. That's going to be one of the bigger parts of the story. And here we get Tengu. Check it out. This guy looks like a little like pigeon or something. Really cute. Now, look, I've seen the YouTube comments on the official channel. They got a ton of views, by the way. I'm really happy. A lot of people have watched these trailers, which I'm so happy with. So, I've seen the comments. you guys, just because they tease Tengu and show Tengu in every one of these things, that's not them teasing you saying, hee, it might be playable. They're just doing Tengu because they're a part of the setting. I'm telling you guys, if Tengu were in this expansion, they would have been marketing the fact. It's such a huge thing. They would have been getting their bang for their buck for it. The Tengu are not going to be here. How can I convince people? I mean, I don't know. Look, and I believed for so long, and the fact I no longer believe should say something. But, you know, I'm really happy to see nonetheless that there are new varieties around. I'm keen to interact with them. This guy seems really tall and slender back here. Bit more Dragon Jade going on here. Is that one of the new waypoints? Can't quite remember how it looked from the previous stream. Here we get more of these guys checking out their new weaponry. That actually reminds me of Photon Forge weaponry there, that gun. And here we see this. I've paused it kind of a really dumb way here, but you can see the new design of the Tengu here again as they fire their arrows. These guys looking out, seeming to be annoyed. I don't know. I get the sense that these are I get the sense these are antagonists, but for a good reason, and they don't want you in the forest. Cantha's wildest region awaits. So what does this mean? It says to me that the city is not in chaos, that the city has got a lot sorted out at this point. Maybe it'll be a lot less slummy and a lot less sewery at this point. And it also says that maybe the Jade Sea has got some semblance of peace or something going on. If this is a wild region, what's going to be going on in the Jade Sea? Who knows? And we get these just astoundingly huge archways. Beautiful, very striking seeing the sun strike through them. And I think that's basically the last shot. A little bit of waterfalls, more of these guys in the masks with all of the crates around. A very weird little guy staring at us. Some kind of machine over here on the side. It's actually a very steampunky kind of machine. Again, makes me think of Dredge, but we don't see any. A guy fighting unarmed. Two guys fighting unarmed. I think these are actually like, these are sort of wheelbendery animations they're repurposing here, which is quite nice. Couple more Tengu in their villagey place. Guy shooting some Dragon Jade tech. Some kind of ground target telegraph. We actually saw a few of these, I think, on the Xing Jie stream. And by the way, speaking of the stream, I think these are probably the exact areas we'll be seeing them actually showing us. And there you have it. That's the end. There's no, like, teaser at the end, except the fact that this guy appears again. They want us wondering about this guy. He appears in 3 different places, everyone. So there you have it. That's their teaser about the stream. So those are my immediate thoughts. Really, really liked this one. Really had a lot of fun with it. And so just a reminder, guys, on the day, that's tomorrow, I'm going to be live. I'll host their whole show. I'll react to it as it's going on. I'll do a pre-show so we can sit down and we can chat and we can talk all about Guild Wars 2. I'm doing a big Guild Wars stream. So if you don't want to miss out on it, take the time, pause this YouTube video, look in the comments or look in the description and just open the tab. I'll be there and, you know, as soon as I go live, you know that you're not going to miss it. So you guys will get reminders as well if you follow me on Twitter, if you follow me on Discord. I'll make sure you're in the know. That's going to be tomorrow. I've been given a couple of 1,000 gems as well from the partner program, which I'll give away on this stream too. So, I mean, if you feel like you want to watch it, a chance to win something on the side, could be a good time. There'll be YouTube videos following it as well, summing up what they have to say for all of this stuff. And that's about it. So thanks very much for watching, guys. Hope you enjoy. And I'll see you guys on the next one very soon. I actually kind of want to do a follow-up to my character tier list. So a little bit more lore discussion coming very soon as well. Thanks, guys. See you there. Yeah, if you guys missed that character tier list, I'll put a link on screen. It's an hour long, and it's generated some novels in response in the comments. So it should be a fun time. Again, with the Twitch link, don't forget to click, and on screen should be the tier list.